The birthplace of Prophet Muhammad, the most significant site in Islam, is now a toilet. The house of his first wife Khadijah, also a toilet, then replaced by a luxury hotel. This isn't an accident. This is systematic erasure, and almost no one is talking about it. Over the past century, Saudi authorities have demolished more than 300 historic sites in Mecca and Medina, sites that stood for over 1,000 years. Gone. The house where Muhammad was born, demolished, replaced with a library, then toilets and commercial space. The house of Abu Bakr, the first caliph, now part of the Hilton Hotel complex. The magnificent Ajyad fortress, an 18th century Ottoman structure, blown up in 2002 to make room for the Abraj al-Bayt clock tower complex. Al-Baqi Cemetery in Medina, containing graves of Muhammad's daughter Fatima and his closest companions, bulldozed in 1925. Historians estimate that 95% of Mecca's buildings over 1,000 years old have been destroyed. But it's not just sites from Muhammad's era. The beautiful Ottoman architectural heritage has been systematically targeted. Inside the Grand Mosque in Mecca, intricate Ottoman columns with detailed calligraphy and centuries of craftsmanship were ripped out, replaced with plain, repetitive arches, stripped of all artistic heritage. The same in Medina, Ottoman expansions, decorative elements, all removed. What was layered with history and artistry, where you could see different periods of Islamic civilization in the building itself, has been replaced with something that looks like, well, it invokes a brutalist communist spirit. Massive, uniform, soulless. Here's what makes this even more disturbing. We know exactly what was built. Every hotel room, every square meter of marble, every $1 billion spent. But try finding documentation of what was destroyed. By the early 2000s, when major demolitions accelerated, the technology absolutely existed to preserve these sites digitally. 3D laser scanning, photogrammetry, architectural surveys, high-resolution documentation. This is standard practice worldwide for far less significant sites. Egypt spent massive resources moving entire temples to save them from Lake Nasser. The Temple of Dendur was disassembled, shipped to New York, and rebuilt in the Metropolitan Museum. Roman ruins are preserved under glass floors in European hotels. A gay bar from the 1960s, the Stonewall Inn, has landmark protection in New York. But for the birthplace of the Prophet, for 1,400 years of Islamic architectural heritage, nothing. No 3D models, no detailed surveys, no archaeological excavation. They didn't even save photographs from every angle. Let me show you why this documentation matters. In Bursa, Turkey, there's an Ottoman mosque called Ulu Cami, built around 1400. Inside is an intricately carved wooden minbar, built using the kundakari technique. A minbar is a type of pulpit used in mosques. When you look at it closely, you see something remarkable. A heliocentric solar system, with proportional orbital distances between the planets. One side shows what appears to be our solar system. The other side shows the Milky Way. Now, Islamic geometric design is famous for one thing: symmetry. Always symmetrical, except here. Critics say the planets aren't to scale, but neither are they in our modern textbooks. We shrink the sizes to show the orbital relationships clearly. That's standard practice in astronomical illustration. The narrative says Pluto was discovered in 1930. The heliocentric model got people thrown in jail in Europe when this was built. But here it is, plain to see. Or is it? This is what I call the blue dress test. Do you see a random asymmetrical design, or do you see a solar system? We're literally arguing about what we're looking at because there's no proper 3D documentation to study it properly. At least this still exists to debate. Here's the thing about that minbar. Whether you see the solar system or not, there's a pattern here. Evidence that challenges established narratives about Islamic civilization gets dismissed. That can't be astronomical knowledge. They didn't know that then. It's just decoration. You're seeing patterns that aren't there. Meanwhile, the destruction of the Prophet's birthplace with no documentation? Silence. Shrugs. Logistical necessity. The asymmetry is staggering. Those who see the evidence don't want it acknowledged, because it challenges narratives about who discovered what and when. Those who see it don't care enough to study it properly, and the lack of documentation serves them both. The official justification is religious. Wahhabi theology, which Saudi Arabia follows, opposes venerating sites and graves. They fear it could lead to idolatry. Fair enough, there's a theological debate to be had there, but there's a massive difference between don't worship this place and turn it into a toilet. They could have left it as unmarked ground. Instead, they chose the most degrading use possible. And it's not just theology, it's political. Ottoman architecture represents a competing Islamic authority, the Caliphate, Turkish, not Arab. It reflects centuries of Islamic artistic tradition that Wahhabism opposes as excessive ornamentation. Destroying it erases that competing vision of what Islamic civilization could be. Let's talk about the double standard. Western museums create incredibly detailed 3D scans of Islamic art in their collections. Random video game environments get detailed 3D modeling. But the actual sites in the Muslim world, inadequately documented. And when they're destroyed in Mecca and Medina, the international community is silent. Where's UNESCO? Where's the global outrage? If the Vatican demolished the manger where Jesus was believed to have been born to build a luxury hotel, it would be international news for months. But for Islam's holiest sites, barely a mention. This isn't just about religion. It's about whose heritage matters, whose history is worth preserving. Here's what haunts me. We're arguing about a minbar design in photographs because we don't have proper 3D documentation. At least that minbar still exists. But those 300+ sites in Mecca and Medina? Gone. What knowledge might have been encoded in their architecture? What craftsmanship was lost? What connections to early Islamic history were severed? We'll never know. Because they demolished them without documentation, without archaeological surveys, without preserving anything. The erasure is complete, physical and from memory. And it happened in our lifetime, with modern technology available to prevent it. That's not accident. That's choice. This story needs to reach more people. Muslims around the world deserve to know what's been lost in their holiest cities. The international community needs to see this double standard in heritage preservation. And whatever remains needs to be properly documented before it's too late. Because here's the truth. They replaced the Prophet's birthplace with toilets, destroyed 1,400 years of architectural heritage, and did it with zero documentation. The silence around this is deafening. But it doesn't have to stay that way. Share this. Make noise. Demand answers. Because once it's gone forever. And they're counting on you not caring enough to notice.